Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your news edition. These are the headlines. In its latest edition, Al-Jaish magazine looks back at the National Army Day commemorating the transition of the National Liberation Army into the National People's Army. Algeria replied to the latest French decisions with reciprocity, a sovereign decision against Paris' anti-Algerian policy. The Zionist entity is planning to take the total control of the Gaza Strip. Algeria condemns and rejects this decision and urges the international community to put an end to the Zionist project. In Morocco, the popular wrath is growing as life is becoming unbearable because of the government's policies and normalization with the Zionist entity. Welcome back. The latest edition of Al-Jaish magazine is entitled Tribute and Honor. It discusses the National Army Day commemorating the transition of the National Liberation Army into the National People's Army. This day of celebration was established 3 years ago by the President of the Republic as a mark of recognition for the sacrifice made by the PNA since independence. Najah Tiyar with the details.
In its latest issue, the magazine Al-Jaish returns in its editorial to the celebration of the 4th anniversary of the National Day of the People's National Army, a day established by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces and Minister of the National Defense, to commemorate the transformation of the National Liberation Army into the People's National Army. This occasion, the magazine affirms, is a tribute that Algeria pays to its army, as underlined by the President of the Republic. The People's National Army, in cohesion with the people, grows in prestige and stature due to the place it occupies in the nation's consciousness, and becomes more experienced and capable through the patriotism and commitment of its officers, soldiers, and all its members. There is no doubt, the editorial notes, that the progress and professionalism achieved are not a matter of chance, but rather the result of a perspective vision based on a comprehensive, integrated and interconnected approach across various fields, an approach whose effectiveness is reflected in the qualitative results obtained. This reflects the preservation of the legacy of our illustrious ancestors, the magazine stresses, echoing the words of the General of the Army, Minister Delegate to the Minister of the National Defense and Chief of the Staff of the People's National Army in his congratulations on this occasion. As sons of the People's National Army, to achieve these noble and supreme goals inspired by the legacy of your blessed fathers and grandfathers, you are called upon to continue to work with all resolve and determination to make our armed forces a canopy of security and safety under which Algeria takes shelter in all times and circumstances, and which protects it from all dangers that lie in wait and surround it from every side. These threats, which have become a prominent feature of this changing, unstable and treacherous era, demand that their repercussions be faced with the necessary efficiency and effectiveness. In this respect, our country is witnessing significant transformations and rapid dynamism at various levels, allowing it to take its rightful place with a strong and active presence in various regional and international reforms and institutions. Algeria has become an indispensable partner and a pivotal regional and international player thanks to its wise policy and its constant pursuit of peace and security in the world, in accordance with firm principles based on respect for international legitimacy and support for just causes, foremost among them the Palestinian and Sahrawi causes. On the economic and social fronts, our country is experiencing a great recovery, as attested by numerous international and regional financial institutions and bodies. Yet, as the magazine emphasizes, the road ahead remains long and demanding in light of the rapid changes and challenges of a tense and unstable international environment, changes which require consolidating national unity and strengthening the internal front to defend the supreme interests of the country. As we celebrate this glorious day, we extend a tribute of honor and reverence to all the sons of the People's National Army stationed at the frontiers who worked diligently to preserve Algeria's security and stability, armed in this noble path with strong determination and an iron will, carrying the trust of our righteous Shuhada and the Shuhada of the national duty who forged our history full of sacrifices and heroism. They face all difficulties, no matter how great, driven by the cohesion, harmony and solidarity between Algerians and their army. A solidarity that will forever be a thorn in the throat of Algeria's enemies and a safety valve for its security and stability, as well as a driving force for its progress, development and victories.
Algeria expressed its firm condemnation and categorical rejection of the Zionist plans that jeopardize the future of the Gaza Strip, the state of Palestine, and peace in the entire region. A few days after the conference of the two-state solution, during which the international community reaffirmed that this option is the only solution for a fair and definitive settlement of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the occupying power shows once again its contempt for the decision of the international community by planning to militarily reoccupy the Gaza Strip and to falsely displace its population. Algeria reaffirms that the Gaza Strip is an integral part of the occupied Palestinian territory and an essential and inseparable element of the Palestinian state recognized by the international legality and claimed by the international community. Algeria urges the international community, particularly the United Nations Security Council, to assume its responsibilities and to put an end to these Israeli plans and stop the genocidal war waged against the Palestinian people for nearly 2 years, and insists on the need to respond quickly to the urgent priorities imposed by the current situation, particularly the catastrophic humanitarian conditions in the Gaza Strip. Algeria reaffirms that the establishment of the independent and sovereign Palestinian state with Al-Quds as its capital constitutes an inalienable, imprescriptible and non-negotiable historical right. The Zionist entity intends to intensify its attacks in Gaza and completely occupy the enclave. People in Gaza fear that the worst is yet to come. They're trying to survive in inhuman conditions. More than 2 million Palestinians are threatened with widespread famine, according to the UN. Rania Al-Bahri with more details.
In Gaza, the humanitarian situation is now at breaking point. More than 100,000 people are crammed into worn-out tents, with families from the eastern and northern neighborhoods fleeing constant aerial and ground bombardments. Many have nothing left, not even the most basic necessities, and there is nowhere else to go. Even the so-called withdrawal zones are being hit by strikes. This desperation has deepened after fresh Zionist threats to reoccupy Gaza City and push nearly 1 million Palestinians from their homes, an announcement widely seen as a declaration of war, part of what many describe as a campaign of genocide and ethnic cleansing. We live in torn tents with no real protection. Now they want us to move, but there's nowhere to go. We're scared, hungry and exhausted. The UN Human Rights Office says that the Zionist entity actions violate the International Court of Justice, but these are ignored. For 2 years, Gaza has faced constant bombardment, mass displacement and tens of thousands of deaths. We have nowhere left to go, so we'll stay here. Death is better than the life we're living now. Gazans want an end to violence, displacement and hunger. The UN Security Council meets on Sunday to discuss the Zionist plan to reoccupy Gaza, with Algeria among the supporters.
In France, the criticism of the policy adopted towards Algeria is escalating, which French politicians consider as an attempt to distract public opinion from the government's inability to respond effectively to the accumulated crisis and to focus on diplomatic tensions with Algeria at a time when Paris is experiencing diplomatic isolation that has been deepened by international changes. More details with Daniel Bahri.
Today, France is facing many problems, social, economic, and political. Inside the country, tensions are growing, and abroad, images from Paris show instability. Inflation is hurting people's purchasing power. Social dialogue is blocked. France is becoming isolated internationally, and it's being left out of important global issues. A country that once played a big role is now standing on the sidelines.
Politique est un désastre complet.
Your policy is a complete disaster, leaving ruins everywhere, yet still calling them elegant landmarks. Last week at the UN Ocean Conference, our foreign minister gave a bold, energetic speech, with even a hint of revolution. At a time when multilateralism is under attack and the institutions that protect it are weakened, he said we must resist. As usual, when crises worsen, politicians who have no solutions look for distraction. For the far right and its allies, there is no better target than Algeria, launching attacks in the belief that exporting the crisis abroad will make the French forget their problems at home. Algeria needs France less, especially for gas, and other countries keep good ties with conflict, so confrontation goes against France's interests. This tactic no longer fools anyone. Former French Environment Minister Ségolène Royal openly accused the French president in a sharp post on X platform of using the controversial Algeria Accord to hide his government's failures, including deadly fires in the Odd region, worsened by poor aircraft equipment and massive cuts of the civil protection budget. Royal didn't stop here. She blamed the government for failing to address social and economic crisis, warning that France is entering a high-risk social situation with no plan to prevent an explosion. She also criticized the provocative way relations with Algeria are being handled by giving the sensitive file to Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau, known for his nostalgia for colonialism and his defense of Sarkozy's shameful law praising colonization. According to her, this is not just a provocation but diplomatic suicide. France can't build trust with Algeria while putting someone with such destructive views in charge of bilateral relations. The result, France, once a global leader, is now stuck in internal fights, unable to solve its crisis and searching for scapegoats. The question is no longer which issues will France lead, but how many will it lose next.
In Morocco, entire regions are facing misery. The government policies and the normalization with the Zionist entity increase the wrath of the protesters demanding change. Hudar Wabah and Najah Tayar.
Under the weight of the Mersin's restrictive policies, Morocco is gripped by a fragile and tense reality. Worsening crisis and the state's silence in the face of a growing public anger have shattered social morale and weakened purchasing power, pushing citizens into the streets to call for the Mersin's removal. We want the downfall of the Mersin's power. We must no longer be afraid or ashamed. We must say it. We want the Mersin to go. It's the one that puts us in this situation. Amid this deepening social and economic crisis, a growing chorus of the Moroccans is voicing strong opposition to the normalization with the Zionist entity. And for millions, such agreements do not reflect the will of the people, and they reject the Mersin's claim to speak on their behalf on matters of such sensitivity. We are here to say that we are not responsible for these official decisions and to tell them, listen to the call of these millions of Moroccans who have been demanding a referendum, but the authorities turning their backs on Palestine. I hope we will get rid of the power in place in Morocco. May Allah free us from them. As the crisis, particularly economic, deepen, millions of Moroccans remain trapped between the hammer of marginalization and the anvil of soaring living costs, in the absence of any genuine policy that responds to public demands or prioritizes citizens' dignity.
During the historical visit of the President of Vietnam, Luong Quang, to Angola for the 50th anniversary of the Vietnamese-Angolan relations, the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic was present which reflects its recognition, showing the failure of the Moroccan attempt to undermine its status with political pressure. The ceremony was attended by a Sahrawi delegation headed by the ambassador of Western Sahara to Angola and Namibia. And we wrap up our edition with the death of the Mujahid and member of the National Liberation Army, Ahmed Cheka. The Minister of Mujahideen and Right Holder Saïd Biga sent a condolence message to the family of the deceased and to the revolutionary family, expressing his solidarity and sincere compassion, praying Allah to bestow His vast mercy upon him. To Allah we belong, and to Him we shall return. And with this, we come to the end of our edition. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. Have a good night.